More arrests as police crack down on people traffickers, but a warning as well. Scammers are turning to new methods to lure their victims. It's time to watch your waistline. New data shows Taiwan is getting fatter and it could be deadly. An award-winning author showcases his work about his struggles in escaping China's Cultural Revolution. Plus, striking a canine pose, how these glamour shots are helping the country's stray dogs find new homes. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Taiwan police have caught a leading figure in a criminal ring that posted fake job ads, then kidnapped people who showed up for interviews. But while this group has been arrested, similar extortion gangs are coming up with new ways to lure in victims. John Van Trieste reports.
Scenes so distressing, the footage has to be blurred. Dozens of people who were held prisoner and tortured. They had been kidnapped by a criminal group and forced to empty their bank accounts. Many were lured in by promises of job interviews, but were then abducted. 58 of the gang's victims are now free, but 3 others are known to have died. So far, 28 suspects are in police custody. Among the latest arrested, this man, one of the ring's alleged leaders, who went on the run, only to be caught in Taiwan's far south.
他可能知道我们早晚会查到他，所以开始就等于是逃亡了。逃亡就跑到南部去嘛。或许他是等风头过后，如果没查到他，他再回来。
While they've largely cracked this criminal group, others like it continue to operate, such as the gang this man allegedly belonged to. Police say he and his accomplices had forcibly held at least 3 people in a hotel room. The authorities say this group would befriend players of online games and arrange to meet up in person, only to kidnap them. There's no sign this group used torture, and the victims were later released, but not before their bank accounts were used for money laundering.
接获民众报案称其个人名下银行账户遭网友诈骗，遭银行设定为警示账户。经清查，其银行账户过去1个月不法金流高达新台币近2000万。
Police have ramped up efforts to combat criminal rings such as these. In Taipei, they've conducted searches of hotels and other lodgings where victims of extortion gangs might be held. On a national level, authorities are working to take down fake online ads that promise high-paying jobs. Police say they're not just targeting low-level gang members. They're also going after the masterminds behind such groups, with the aim of breaking up these criminal rings permanently. Patrick Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Lawmakers are raising concerns about national security after Chinese-made parts were found in drones used in Taiwan's National Day celebrations. Premier Su Tseng-chang has called for a thorough investigation into the issue. The revelation has prompted renewed questions about the safety of Taiwan's drone industry, especially ones used in the military. The head of the National Zhongshan Institute of Science and Technology, which manufactures Taiwan's military drones, denied responsibility for the models used in the National Day show. Defense Minister Chiu Kuo-cheng told legislators that the military strictly prohibits use of Chinese-made components in any of its drones. Taiwan health authorities are encouraging young people to watch their waistline. This comes after a new report found that a growing number of young people are overweight. As Bing Wang reports, a wider waistline could mean a higher risk of developing diseases.
6 months ago, 30-year-old Mr. Xu weighed over 80 kilograms and had a waist circumference of 91 centimeters. But after an overweight friend died suddenly, Xu began taking his health more seriously. He started exercising and eating healthy, and his waistline shrank to 71 centimeters.
就身旁朋友啦，对啊，就是也是过胖，然后就忽然就这样倒掉，就这样就去了，对啊，所以就是有一点那个危机感，对啊，想说还瘦下来对身体的负担比较小，哦，会有差整个精神状态啊，然后体力上也有差，然后看起来人家也说真的年轻很多。
A survey by the Taiwan Health Promotion Administration found that over half the people 19 and older have an excessive waist circumference. That means over 90 centimeters for men and 80 for women. Doctors say an excessive waist circumference means more visceral fat and a higher risk of developing high blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and diabetes.
代谢症候群它可能会增加，比如说6倍的一个糖尿病的一个风险，然后可能会有4倍的高血压风险，然后血脂肪异常也可能会比较高，然后心脏中风的风险也是会增加。所以其实代谢症候群就是比较像是一个红绿灯亮黄灯，然后就是提醒我们该注意。
The Health Promotion Administration is urging more people to eat healthily, exercise, and regularly measure and record their waist circumference. These steps will help people to lower the risk of contracting metabolic diseases. Kama Xu and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
The price of everyday products like eggs, cooking oil and bread rose nearly 7% year on year in October. That's according to Taiwan's main statistics bureau. This is the biggest price hike for such items in almost 14 years. The statistics agency says food prices have gone up again because animal feed is still expensive globally. Also, Taiwan's currency is getting weaker, making it more costly to purchase goods from overseas. Overall, consumer goods prices in October rose by about 2.7% from the same month last year. That's a little less than in September, but it still means 15 straight months above the central bank's target rate of 2%. Taiwan health authorities say COVID patients who break quarantine to vote in the upcoming local elections will be fined. Under Taiwan law, confirmed COVID patients must self-isolate and are not allowed to go outside, even to cast their ballots. Violators could be fined up to $62,000. But the country's pandemic response task force has recently cut mandatory quarantine from 7 days to 5, meaning fewer people should be affected on the November 26th elections. The works of Nobel Prize winner Gao Xingjian have been put on display for the first time. The author's writings tell of his experiences growing up in China and surviving the Cultural Revolution. Jaime Ocon reports.
Manuscripts, notes, and pictures telling the story of one man's life. These are the works of French-Chinese author Gao Xingjian. Over 600 items documenting his experiences are on display at the National Taiwan Normal University in Taipei. This is the first time Gao's works have been showcased to the public. The 82-year-old, who won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 2000, says having his life's work on display is a true privilege.
台湾现今已经成了我的故乡，师大也是我的大学，这不仅是我的荣耀，也无比亲切。
Gao was born in Jiangxi province in eastern China in the early 1940s. He would go on to write several plays and poems about his time there. The Chinese Communist Party considered many of Gao's writings subversive. One of his seminal works, Soul Mountain, details his encounters and experiences during the brutality of China's Cultural Revolution. Fearing state persecution, Gao fled to France in 1989. He then came back to Taiwan and started lecturing at National Taiwan Normal University in 2012. A number of the author's pieces are on display in their original form. That is despite calls to digitalize the works on show over fears the original could be damaged.
后来因为都是有打字啦，或有电脑的东西，就是再要有老师的这样子的一些手稿，这个的真迹呢，我们觉得这个已经是全部都在这里。
Officials at the gallery say Gao's pieces are not just important for preserving history, but also for aiding the teachings and research of future generations.
我也觉得是以后不管美术史或是任何的史学家，他们要来做研究的时候，就会从那个画绝对可以展示他的心境，展示他所有的一些的事情嘛。
The exhibition will be on display until mid-December. The author himself was unable to visit the museum due to health issues, but Gao hopes that the works on display will tell his story for him. Klein Wong and Jaime Ocon for TaiwanPlus.
On Tuesday night, the world was treated to a rare lunar eclipse, but people in Taiwan were able to see more than just the eclipse. They were also able to experience a phenomenon that will not happen again for millennia.
On Tuesday night, people in different parts of the world witnessed the Earth's shadow completely cover the moon. During lunar eclipses such as this, the moon turns a reddish color. This happens as sparse amounts of sunlight make it past the Earth and onto the moon's surface. The red color occurs as dust and gas in the Earth's atmosphere distorts the light. This occurrence is commonly known as a blood moon. But viewers here were treated to much more than just the lunar eclipse. In Taiwan, the moon passed by the planet Uranus, blocking it from view during the totality of the eclipse. An alignment such as this won't occur again for more than 2,000 years.
这个时候，如果月亮又刚好遮掩住一颗行星，我们称之为月掩星的天象，要能够凑在一起，需要地球、月亮、还有天王星以及遥远的太阳这4个才有办法发生。
In total, the blood moon was visible for about an hour and a half. Unfortunately, not all were able to set eyes on the celestial spectacle. Moon gazers in northern and eastern Taiwan would have had their view obscured by cloudy weather. But for those who were able to see, they witnessed an event the likes of which will not take place again until the year 4344, an astronomically long time from now. Patrick Chen and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Coming up here on Taiwan Plus, why some say Taiwan's net zero targets are not good enough. Details on that and the latest from the climate summit after the break.
On the road! Have you been outdoor lately?
I've walked the dog.
From the jungle to the ocean. Are we ready? Let's do it! Chip! Go, 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 go! Fabio!
Oh, look at that!
What is that?
The size of a scooter.
And I think I'm gonna fall in love with you.
Good. Good.
I've finally been through all 18 levels of the underworld of the East. And I think what's so special, explaining to you what exactly the punishment is for every specific sin. In recent years, as people have become more and more aware of animal rights, it brings me great joy to know that they can come to somewhere like the Zhongyi Shijiugong Temple to pray for the well-being, happiness, and health of their furry friends. The St. Joseph Church here in Citong Township is more than a century old, and through its architecture, to its rituals, to even the incense, you can see just how good a job it does of blending two vastly different cultures and religions.
要好的鼓不简单啊，用好的体力去做，用生命去打一颗鼓。会不会烧到我的手？不会的。好，继续哦，好，可以换气哦。
So I just saw this great dragon walking over here. Looks like it's almost a guardian that's guarding this entire temple complex. The Taiwan Husheng Glass Temple so masterfully combines traditional Taiwanese religion and culture with glass craftsmanship. In addition to that, it's the only place in the world with a glass statue of Mazu. What a beautiful exchange of culture and tradition. Not only an example of how accepting the Taiwanese people are to all sorts of different cultures and religion. I think we could all use more accepting and more beautiful people in this world. So if there's one message that you're taking away from this, let it be that of peace and love.
Welcome back to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. Leaders of island nations and low-income countries are urging rich economies to help them pay for the damage caused by climate change. Antigua, Vanuatu and Tuvalu joined other countries from Asia and Africa at the COP27 climate conference to call for more funding. Low-income nations contribute little to global carbon emissions, but they bear the brunt of its effects. That's why their leaders want rich economies to take more responsibility. A report on Tuesday found that by 2030, developing countries will need $1 trillion a year from outside sources to pay for climate action. The Prime Minister of the Bahamas urged developed countries to step up to the challenge.
Let's get real. It's only going to get worse. We are entering a new climate era that will drive extreme geopolitical and economic instability. Statements without binding commitments or enforcement mechanisms have been used again and again as a way to postpone real action.
Taiwanese environmental groups are calling on the government to cut carbon emissions much faster than planned. Right now, Taiwan aims to slash 20% of emissions by 2030, but campaigners say that's much less ambitious than other countries, where the goal is to cut 40%. Campaign groups in Taiwan are using the COP27 climate conference in Egypt to push their case for drastic action. They say that Taiwan's government is moving too slowly to reach net zero emissions by 2050.
而如果我们把减量责任全部都是推到2030年之后的话，那就代表说我们政府没有要负起在气候政策上面的政治责任。
To find out more about the climate group's expectations for the conference, our reporter Stash Butler spoke to Greenpeace East Asia campaigner Hong Shengbang.
First off, what kind of action are you hoping to see from COP27?
So from Greenpeace's perspective, we'd like to see three things happening in the COP27. The first is both the vulnerable countries and low-income countries have access to adequate financial resources consistently provided from rich countries to deal with the damage already caused and develop a carbon-free economy. And the second is all countries should propose more aggressive NDCs, that is nationally determined contributions, as well as solid action plans towards phasing out fossil fuels and halving global greenhouse gas emission by 2030. The third is that decision makers should recognize that protecting nature and fighting climate change must go hand in hand. That is, we still don't support counting on nuclear energy and other means that will seriously harm the nature for decarbonization.
And what could Taiwan do sitting on the sidelines of this big global event?
I think Taiwan is never out of the game, for it plays an ultra-important role in global supply chain. So in order to align with the common goal shared by the rest of the world, we too have to make ambitious pledges. Two things that we urgently need in Taiwan are energy transitions and mindset transition. So on one hand, we're running campaigns to push forward policy implementation like effective carbon pricing and renewable energy incentives. Those are important leverage to enable changes. But on the other hand, we're also doing communicative programs to raise awareness of net zero emissions to the public. Like I said, individual actions are the best driving force.
Is Taiwan doing enough now to combat climate change?
We can never say Taiwan has done enough because there's always a lot of more to be done. Like our energy is not 100% renewable yet, and there's still a long way for us to go before reaching net zero. And even if we reach net zero, we still have to figure out how to help the rest of the world to reach the common goal together. So it's never enough for me.
Taiwan is home to nearly 160,000 stray dogs. But one man is trying to help some of these animals find homes by using his camera skills. Our reporter Sandy Chi heads to the studio to see how this photographer is making a big difference.
This is Sid. He's a 1-year-old puppy discovered on a beach in western Taiwan. When he was found, he was skinny, but still very happy to see people. He's here at something studio for a glamour shoot, and hopefully that will help him find a new home. Wei Yang is the founder of the studio. He's been taking photos of stray animals and posting them on social media. The goal is for his followers to share the photos and help pups find a home.
像我们本人是摄影师啊，然后都会知道说，真的好的影像可以，就是不管是商品啊或者是什么，都会有加分。我希望可以透过这些照片，让人家感觉到，哎，这些狗狗它们是有情绪的，对，它们是有喜怒哀乐，它们是一个活生生的生命这样子。
Now meet Sweet Potato. These photos melted the hearts of a family in Taoyuan, northern Taiwan.
某一天就看到番薯的照片，然后看到之后就开始不再看其他狗的照片了。也就是那个照片就会觉得它是一个蛮放松，然后可以玩，就是马上玩得起来的狗狗。看那个，因为它三生有好多照片，那其实我们也看一阵子，大家就会看照片，可以感受得到狗的一点点它的个性。
For Sweet Potato, finding a home was not an easy process. She's a little different from other dogs.
他以前大概5个月的时候，一样在桃园的复兴区被发现，然后被发现的时候他已经受伤了，所以是算是被救援的狗。那救援之后，那个时候就把一只脚截肢了。然后截肢完之后，他们觉得它不太适合留在新屋收容所，所以就中途志工接出来养，然后大概养了280多天才遇到我。
Although she's missing a leg, Sweet Potato finally found a family that loves her very much.
一开始本来不是很确定它只有3只脚，然后等到有一天我们已经快安排去跟中途见面的时候，你才发现啊，它只有3只脚，然后就好像有一点惊讶这样子。然后我们就跟他聊天，他就说他可能会有一点担心，不敢跟同学说。对，但是跟他回来，番薯回来相处之后，他就越来越开心。
For Yang, snapping these photos is a passion, but for the animals he's helped, it's a new lease on life.
觉得有这样无私的摄影师存在，非常有意义。对。
很多中途妈妈，我觉得他们其实都很低调，那可能他们的狗狗一直在他们那边，没有这样曝光，没有人知道。对，有可能都养了1年多什么，但是经过3生这样子照很活泼生动的照片，就是应该可以提高大家去领养狗狗的那种想法。
Yang says people in Taiwan often prefer purebred dogs, like poodles and Shibas. His goal is to break that trend.
我的认知是，很多品种犬都是炒作出来的，电视啊、电影啊，或者是一些不管是艺人啊，所以我会希望的就是，至少大家可以对待米克斯跟对待品种犬，我们都是一样的一些地位，对，或者是一样的一些看法。
In just 3 years, Yang has matched up at least 100 animals with owners. With the click of a shutter, he's making a lasting impact, not only for dogs, but also cats and other furry friends. And of course, the furless humans who love them. Aznaya Zhou and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
What a wonderful story. A Taipei theatre troupe is back with their new season, but instead of simply restaging familiar pieces, they will be offering audiences a variety from both the East and the West. Eric Gao has more.
East meets West on the stage. The Taipei Liren Peking Opera Theater are relaunching one of their most popular shows. This production is of The Magic Flute, inspired by Mozart's iconic work. The show originally debuted last year to critical acclaim. The production has now been upgraded to showcase both classical Western and Chinese influences at the same time. The modern set design is also a new take on Beijing opera.
耳熟，又有新鲜感，视觉上呢，又热闹又有趣。
The Magic Flute won't be the only work taking to the stage. The theater will also be showcasing classical Chinese love story, The Palace of Eternal Life. Director Li Baocun believes the two operas complement each other extremely well.
一个谈情说爱，一个生死离别，确实有的看。
By combining Eastern and Western influences, Li hopes he'll be able to reach new audiences and break new ground with these classic works. Kama Xu, Irene Wu, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of floating lanterns released in the sky in Thailand. I'm Yin Khvat. Take care and see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please make sure to download the TaiwanPlus app.